today we are all gathering under the powerful theme, Women Leading with Purpose. So I think that this luncheon is more than just an event. It's an opportunity to reflect on the impact that women have every day as leaders in our workplaces, in our families, and of course in our communities. Leading with purpose means understanding our values, embracing all of our different strengths, and then using our voices as women super intentionally to create meaningful change. It means that we all step forward with confidence, even when we have challenges arise, and that we lift others, or try to, as we make that climb. Our purpose today is to celebrate the resilience, the determination, and the incredible vision of women who lead not only with skill and expertise, but also with heart and with authenticity. Through some shared stories and some awesome conversation today on stage, we hope that we're going to inspire one another to grow, to mentor, to advocate, and then to lead boldly in every single space that we enter. As we do engage in today's panel discussion, may we remember that leadership is not just about position, it's also about influence. And every single one of us has the power to lead with clarity, with courage, and with purpose. So we're going to take just a tiny pause so that they can start serving your lunch, and then we are going to move forward with our panel discussion. Thank you all so much for being here. We really, really appreciate it, and we're excited about it. I'm going to grab him and put him a little bit on the spot. Round of applause for our mayor, Omar Ochoa, who is here with us today. And he is politely accepted to give us a few welcome remarks.
Absolutely. All right, everybody doing okay? Good. Excellent. So happy to be here. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is a beautiful event and occasion, and I'm so glad that we can celebrate International Women's Day here amongst the fierce women of the city of Edinburg. We all know, yes, thank you. We all know that you are the ones that actually get the work done from department to department, from role to role. And so we just wanted to have a brief moment to be able to say thank you so much to all of the effort that you all put here into the city of Edinburg. But more than anything else, just to praise you for being the people that you are. This is a wonderful community, a vibrant community, and women are at the center of our families, both in our culture and here in Edinburg. So thank you all again so much. Really looking forward to the panel, not just because my wonderful wife, Leah Wise, is going to be part of it, but to be able to celebrate and to hear more information. So thank you all again so much for being here today. I hope you enjoy the lunch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Please continue to enjoy your lunch. I'm going to introduce our esteemed panelists and then lead into our panel discussion as you continue to enjoy your meal. It's definitely a big honor to serve today as your moderator and guide the conversation with three pretty incredible women from the Valley who are all big-time leaders in their own fields. Our goal today is to share some insights, share some stories that empower all of us to lead with confidence and also to lift each other up. So let's start by introducing our panelists today. Our first panelist, and you've already heard about her, is Leah Wise. Leah was born and raised in Primera. She attended UT Austin, where she earned her degree in political communication with a concentration in women's and gender studies, and later received her law degree from St. Mary's University School of Law. In 2016, Leah opened her own law practice, and get this, now leads the largest 100% women-run law firm in the entire Rio Grande Valley. She has also secured millions of dollars in settlements for injured clients across Texas and was nationally recognized in 2020 for securing one of the largest settlements in the state of Texas. She's also an entrepreneur and a philanthropist. She owns several businesses, including a real estate investment company, a co-working space, and a clothing line aimed at empowering young women. She also founded the Wise Women Foundation to support minority women. Leah is deeply passionate about empowering Latinas and has even, I love this, established a scholarship fund to support Latina law students that may be facing financial hardships. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Leah Wise. Our next panelist is also a super familiar face in Edinburg, Miss Veronica Gonzales. Veronica is a respected leader with more than 20 years of experience in law, public service, and community advocacy. She made history in 2004 as the very first woman elected to represent the Rio Grande Valley in the Texas House of Representatives, where she served 4 terms and she chaired the Border and Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. Today, she serves at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, visa up, right? Where she leads governmental and community relations, overseeing local, state, and federal relations, community engagement, and workforce and economic development initiatives. Over the years, she has received numerous recognitions for her leadership and advocacy. Veronica was also the very first in her family to attend college, and she often credits education for opening the doors that has shaped her career. She's active on a lot of boards across the region, including our very own EDC. She enjoys spending time with her family, including her husband, children, and grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Veronica Gonzales. And our final panelist today, Natalia Velasquez. Natalia serves as the City of Edinburgh's chief building official and is the first woman to ever hold this position. She's built an impressive career in building safety and code enforcement. In 2001, love this, she became the first female Master Electrician in the entire Rio Grande Valley. Yeah. But there's more. She later became the first female residential combination inspector in the region and eventually earned her certified building official designation. Most recently, Natalia earned the prestigious Master Code Professional certification, placing her among the top 1% of code professionals, not just nationwide, but worldwide. Throughout her career, she's been dedicated to not only her profession, but also to mentoring others, and has helped more than 20 colleagues across the valley earn certifications and also advance their careers. She credits her father and mentors for inspiring her path and takes great pride in balancing her professional achievements with her role as a wife and mother of 3. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Natalia Velasquez. So to all our panelists, thank you all for being here with us. We are so excited to have you share your stories with us. Obviously, there was a lot of accolades that we said there, right? A lot of firsts. So we're so lucky to have you here in the city of Edinburg with us. So Leah, let's get started with you. As women, many of us face some pretty unique challenges in the workplace. And I think we should probably start the conversation talking about maybe leadership and overcoming barriers as women. So can you share maybe a significant challenge that you've had as a woman in the field and how you kind of overcame that?
Sure. Well, so I want to start off by saying that I'm so honored to be here and to be in a room full of such inspiring women who I know are daily moving the city forward, and to be on a panel with such esteemed women. So first of all, thank you all so much for having me today. As far as barriers that I've faced in my career, I would say that there have been many, but as a plaintiff's lawyer, I think it was really recently that more women have started to join in on that area of law. So when I graduated and took the bar exam in 2016, I didn't know a single woman-owned law firm that was doing 100% plaintiff's work. And I think the biggest barrier that I had was overcoming this idea that women just weren't meant for that area of law, at least not to own law firms that specialize in that area of law. I knew a lot of amazing women attorneys, including Ms. Veronica Gonzales, and that I was very inspired by that, but I also wanted to pave a way for more women to be plaintiffs' lawyers. And so I was told in the beginning of my career that I should apply for a job, that I had no business starting my own practice, much less starting a plaintiff's firm, right? I was told that I was actually one time almost got kicked out of a courtroom because they thought I wasn't a lawyer, because I was 26 years old and the bailiff told me this area of the courtroom is only for lawyers. And so I thought, okay, it's 2016, 2017, there's no way this is still happening, right? But it still was. And of course, the billboards that you see all across the expressway, I'm sorry, I know a lot of those billboards are very annoying.
Don't be sorry.
I know a lot of those billboards are very annoying, but I noticed that they were all men. And something about that just didn't sit right with me. And so I made it my mission to become that lawyer and to be able to represent plaintiffs who have been injured. And it was very difficult at first because, as I'm sure you all have guessed, it's very costly to do that. And so breaking into that industry is really, really difficult. I had $60,000 of student debt and almost no savings. So I started my law practice with a refurbished computer that my dad bought for me and my cell phone and a free tool called social media. And that really, really allowed me to grow my audience, be able to portray who I was as a person and as an attorney. And although I faced a lot of doubt and a lot of people trying to tell me that I should just quit what I was doing, I knew that I owed it to the women who paved the way for people like me and to the younger generation of women lawyers who would join the legal field.
Wow. Okay, so resilience goes a long way. Did you ever think, come 2026 that you would be here, considering that you couldn't even walk into a courtroom and they take you seriously?
Absolutely not. And just to be 100% open and transparent, there were many times that I considered giving up and getting a job at a law firm. And there was a lot of times that I would cry. I remember sitting outside of the courthouse and I would cry because I had no idea what I was doing. I made it was a very spur of the moment decision to start my law practice, having no experience as an attorney. So I was really starting from nothing. And there was times I'd be at the courthouse and I'd be asking other lawyers for advice, right? I'd be in the courtroom and be like, how do I do this? How do I talk to the judge about this? And to their credit, they were so, so helpful. The local bar down here is just so helpful. But that is how little I knew about anything. And so there were times where I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I making life so hard for myself? Why am I living, barely able to pay my bills every month? My car would break down on me. It was a lot of things that I don't think people see now. And I like to be transparent and share that part of my journey because I think it's important.
Awesome. You did it, though. So you mentioned it. Veronica paved the way for lots of people, including attorneys like you. And Veronica, your awesome career has spanned law, it's spanned education, leadership in higher education. So how have you maybe navigated some moments of self-doubt while you're still stepping into all of those big leadership roles?
Thank you for the question. And I think that just when you say pave the way, to me that just means you're old. you're the old lady among you.
No way!
Yeah. And I am so happy to be here today. I want to thank the City of Edinburg for doing this. It says a lot about the city and how progressive they are, that they are having this kind of event to recognize the contributions of women and really to look at how women contribute to the workforce and to making our city an even better place to live. So thank you to the City of Edinburg. And what a joy it is for me to be on this panel with the First Lady of the City of Edinburg, who I am so inspired to hear her story, because she really shows what the new generation of women, they have less self-doubt probably than women of my generation had coming up, when it was even less women in the profession. And then to hear about Natalia and what the certifications and what she's been able to do in what has been considered a man's world for so many years, I'm very proud to be up here and honored to be here with these wonderful ladies. But when you talk about self-doubt, I mean, I think we've all suffered from self-doubt at times, right? It's not about our ability. It's about just being human, about humanity, that you're going to have doubts about whether or not you're able to do something. I'll tell you some personal stories that I think will help you understand who I am and where I've come from. I grew up in San Marcos. Everybody knows, it used to know it because of the outlet mall, right? And I was the oldest in my family of 3. My mother passed away when I was 14 years old. She died in a car accident, leaving me as the oldest with 2 very young brothers. One was 7 and one was 3. And that put me in a role to lead at that time, not by choice, but by circumstances. And so did I have doubt? Absolutely. Did I have doubt that I could be kind of a parent figure for my brothers to help my dad? Absolutely. When I decided to go to college, I was the first one in my family to go to college. I had a lot of doubts there about whether or not I could do it, but I knew I had my mother's voice in my head constantly telling me that I had to go to college, I had to get an education. And I know so many in this room are first generation as well. And I would always tell my dad, for everything I did, I would tell my dad, Dad, I think I'm going to go to college. And he'd say, that's good, mija, I'm sure you'll do great. That was always his answer for everything. And then got to college, graduated from college, got the bug for learning, and said this really opens a lot of doors, and decided I wanted to go to law school. And so I told my dad, Dad, I think I'm going to go to law school. And he said, that's good, mija. I'm sure you'll do great. Find the money to do it, because I don't have it. But yes, went to University of Texas School of Law. And again, I think every time you step out of your comfort zone, you grow. And you learn to doubt yourself less. And as you prepare, I think preparation, there's no substitute for hard work and preparation. When you prepare and you go in knowing the facts, you're going to have more confidence in your life, and you're going to doubt yourself less. When I started practicing law down here, I moved to the Valley, worked for the same law firm for over 20 years, and back in 2000, I remember it was 2004, my law partners came and said, we think that you should run for state representative. And I said, what? Why would I do that, right? And they're like, oh, you would be great, and you know the law, you've been on this side of the law, now it's time to go make laws. And we think you should do it. And by the way, they knew how I am. I will what if something to death sometimes. And so they said, by the way, the deadline is today. And I'm like, what? And I started making some calls. And as you get people that think you can do something that maybe you didn't even think you could do, you gain that confidence, right? And you doubt yourself less. And as I called people and they were like, yeah, you should do it. Yes, I'll support you. Yes, do it. I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I called my dad, like I always did, and I said, Dad, I think I'm going to run for state representative. And he said, ¿Estás loca? Here I thought he was going to say, that's good, mija. I'm sure you'll do great. And he said, do you know what they do to people that are running for office and how they criticize them? And I don't want to have to go over there. And I'm like, Dad, I'll be fine. I'm a grown woman. I will be fine. And I think that, of course, I knew I had the support of some people behind me that were not going to leave my side, and they were going to help me. Now, I did, just like Leah was saying how she went out and, she's like, how am I going to do this? I have these student loans and stuff. I went out and I borrowed, and at that time it was a lot of money for me, still a lot of money today, $150,000 to start my campaign. And I thought, I have to win. I have to, because this has to get paid back. And so, and each step of the way later on, after having served in the House of Representatives, which was a wonderful, wonderful experience for me, and I decided that I'm going to retire from that now and go back to work at the law firm. And then I realized, gosh, I really miss being out in the community. I miss feeling like I'm making that difference. Unlike Leah, I was on the defense side of cases representing companies, and I felt like all I was doing was fighting over money all the time. And going into the courtroom, your stomach would burn because you knew it was going to get very tense in there. And I decided, maybe I should think about doing something else, and a door opened. And that door was, hey, we have a position open at the university, and we think you'd be great for it. Would you be interested? And I thought, do I want to leave a firm that I've been with for over 20-something years and take a chance? I doubted myself again, but I said, you know what? If I don't step out of my comfort zone, every time I've stepped out of my comfort zone, good things have happened. And I'm going to try it. And I did, and now I've been at the university for 14 years. It's been wonderful. I love the idea of being able to help students to get an education and to do what I got to do in my life, and that was to keep moving and keep growing, and it was because of education. So kind of a full circle there, but yeah, you're going to doubt yourself, but lean into your abilities, knowing what you know. People trust in you because for a reason. Sometimes we don't see those qualities in ourselves, but somebody else does. And if they do, remind yourself of that. There's nothing wrong with also giving grace to yourself and saying, you know what, I can do this, and taking a chance and doing it. And if it doesn't work out, so what? Then something else opens up for you. So just try to trust in yourself, and you will always continue to move forward.
Awesome. So I love what we're doing here today because you're hearing stories that you wouldn't otherwise, from taking over a household at the tender age of 14 to, I don't know, I'm going to be an attorney and a state rep and work with the university. So we are doing great things in the city of Edinburg. Nati, turning our attention to you. Being in your line of work, obviously you have built a lot of firsts as a female. Probably in a lot of spaces that definitely women are underrepresented. So how do you handle pushback, or how would you handle rejection when you're trying to advocate for yourself as a woman in that area?
Edinburg, thank you, Edinburg, for this opportunity and this wonderful woman that I'm here joining today. There has been a lot of no's for a lot of yes, or first, right? First yes.
Yeah.
Pushback has always been something that encouraged me to continue. Looking at something that is new, it doesn't scare me. I have changed in different positions. I started as an electrician at a very early age. I was a troublemaker, so my mom would send me to work with my dad. So I started as an electrician, and I learned the trade. And then later on, I became an electrician myself. And I owned a company years back. There has always been that you can do it, or you're the first female in the valley, or just to have a company that is male-dominated. Has always been doubts and a lot of pushback. I like to prepare myself for what is out there and be able to be ready for whatever challenges and questions that they're going to put in front of you. There's always something that somebody's going to say, right? Everybody has an opinion, right? So they will come and tell you that you're doing something wrong, or that you're actually reading the wrong code. So preparing for those codes and being an expert, specializing that code, knowing that you're confident with the literature that you're preparing with, and knowing that as an electrician or as in the construction field, I started as a very early in my age, so I was very young, and I'm very observant. I like to see things and study beyond what I see. So I think that sets me apart, right, from the regular person. So I was always ready for an answer or a comeback or for whatever pushback, right? When I came to Edinburg, the Department of Building Safety did not exist. We were under planning and zoning, and we were under code enforcement. So I came in with the idea of putting it on the map and specializing on construction. There's a lot of construction in Edinburg. So, but we didn't have a construction department. So there was a lot of pushback. I mean, as you all know, budgets are very tricky, and there's a lot of needs, right? So there was a lot of no's, but I always had in my mind that we needed to exist. And with great leadership and pushing back, perseverance, looking for, a way of presenting. Every budget I will present with a different presentation. But at the end of the day, it was the same presentation, just different wordings.
Just a little different.
Words. I wanted to make an impact. So they already knew what I was trying to do. And I wanted for the department to be one of the most certified departments in the area. So one of the things is, just like I went through a lot of no's, I was trying to push people through, if I did it, you can too. So start getting certifications. The City of Edinburg is very supportive when it comes to education, and we do have a training budget for this, and let's use it 100%. And I want everybody to get certified. It sets you apart, and it makes you an expert. You can be doing, and I mean, experience counts a lot. The more experience you have, there's a lot of value to that experience. There's way more information that you learn on a day by day than what you read, The theory is one thing, the experience on the field is another one. So I'm always pushing. I'm very grateful that in 2022, we were able to make a building safety department. We have 20 staff members. It's a great team, and I'm always pushing them. Maybe I'm the setback. I don't know. But the setback is to push them.
That is not a
They
setback.
come back. No, you can't. And I'm always pushing them, and I'm very grateful for that, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. And all the no's that have come to my life, they are very meaningful because they have tried for me to think outside the box, be more creative, and come back with another presentation. Data, they always tell me data driven. So I'm always researching and being very, very creative. So it's a blessing. Setbacks are a blessing.
I like that. Setbacks are a blessing. I also appreciate that you're working to put us on the map, and she has, so that's a good thing. Leah, you've built a really successful law firm, quite a few businesses along the way. So how do you go about setting those long-term career goals and then working to achieve them?
I am and my husband will agree with you, I am not a long-term thinking kind of person. I am a very impulsive. If it feels right in the moment, I go for it. And I think that actually has served me well because, like Veronica said, if you what if an idea to death, you're going to eventually talk yourself out of doing it. So when I started my law practice, it wasn't like I had thought about it for years. It was, okay, I passed the bar exam. And the same day I was like, I'm gonna do this, right? And so I am a very live in the moment. I make decisions based on feelings and my passions and when I feel inspired. So I don't know that I can speak, like for example, right now, when somebody asks me, what's your long-term goal? And my answer to that is always just to keep growing, right? Keep being the best person that I can possibly be. Keep trying to help people. That is a huge, huge part of my mission, is always to help my clients. It's the reason why I started the nonprofit, is to help other minority women. It's the reason why I started that scholarship foundation at St. Mary's, is because when I was in law school, I remember the struggle, right? The financial struggle of law school. And so if I can do one thing to help Latina law students get through law school easier, then that makes me so happy. So my clothing line, right? I was like, well, I love fashion. I love beauty. I love being girly. And a lot of people think that lawyers should not be those things. And so part of my mission is also to change the public's perception of what lawyers should act like and look like. And so I used to suppress my femininity a lot when I first became an attorney, because I remember in law school we were told, wear navy, wear black.
Don't be cute.
And wear pantyhose. I was like, no way am I gonna be wearing pantyhose. That's crazy. So I, in the beginning, I sort of stifled that femininity, and I eventually decided, you know what? this is not the example I want to set for young girls, right? I don't want them to stifle any part of themselves. I want them to feel authentic. I want them to feel confident in who they are. So I decided to be girly, right? And so if you happen to look at my social media or if you walk into my office, it is very girly. It's very pink. It's very feminine. And I realized that once I stopped suppressing that part of myself is when my business blew up, which is crazy, right? Because I thought I was going to alienate people. And I was told, why are you alienating men, male clients? And I said, my tribe, my people will find me no matter what. What is meant for me will never miss me. And you know what? Half of my clients are still men because as the women in this room will agree, women make a lot of decisions in the household, right? A lot of my clients say, well, my wife told me I had to hire you. Or my daughter said, Dad, you need to see this girl on social media. You need to hire her. Or my sister was like, this is the girl you're going to hire, right? And so I actually have not lost male clients at all. In fact, it's pretty steady, 50-50, men and women. So to go back to your question, I think that when you're planning long term, I think you really need to dig deep, right? What fills my cup? What makes me feel passionate? What's going to help me help the younger generation, right? And so while I can't give you a super concrete answer on what my long-term goals are, I can tell you that every time that I have felt inspired or moved to try something new because of my passions, it has almost always worked out for me. And I like what Natalia said, that sometimes setbacks are blessings in disguise. I've experienced a lot of setbacks, and I realized looking back, it's because there was a better plan for me, right? There was a reason why there was a no, and it was because there was an even better yes around the corner.
So if you're inspired, just do it.
I mean, don't do as I say, not as I do, because sometimes I do things without thinking them through, and it has taught me to slow down. Let's sleep on it, right? Now I sleep on decisions, whereas before I would not. And Omar has helped me through that a lot because he is a very methodical. Let's have a plan. I'm sure he wrote out a whole business plan for his law firm. I didn't even know what a business plan was. And to this day, I'm learning as I'm going. And I think it's a testament that if you're the kind of woman who plans, or if you're the kind of woman who's more like me, there is more than one path to success. There's not one size fits all plan to success. And so embrace that part about yourself.
I like it. Okay, so something else that I think we should probably tackle, and it's something that I have always struggled with for all my career, and that's how do you juggle work life and home life, right? We have so many hats, and how do you do it? So, Veronica, let's start with you. In your time, leadership, public service, being an attorney, have you had to make some maybe difficult decisions to kind of keep that work-life balance? How do you navigate that?
Not very well. No.
I mean, that's honest, right?
I'm still trying to figure out the work-life balance. I think I see a lot of young people here in the crowd, right? And I think it varies from generation to generation. In my generation, we didn't even hear the term work-life balance. I mean, there was no such thing about, or some people will say, some younger employees may say, I need a mental health day. What is a mental health day? I always say, because we didn't have that in my generation. You just went to work, right? You just did your job, and you kept working, and eventually, I started working when I was 15 years old, and you just worked, right? But yes, you do, for your own sanity, you have to have a work-life balance. And I have made decisions in my life because of work-life balance. And I will tell you, actually, leaving the legislature, I was a chairman of a committee, and there's not very many chairmen. So, in fact, they still call them chairman, as you notice, not chairwoman. But so I was feeling like I was at the top of my game. But I had told my firm that I would serve 3 terms, and I was already in my 4th. And so it was time to get back to work because the legislature can really consume your life. And so doing that and leaving was a big one for me, but I also had started to date the man who became my husband. And I will tell you, without the work-life balance, you might end up like me. One day I woke up and I said, I'm 50 years old and I forgot to get married. So I had said, oh my God, because I'd always, I remember going to my doctor and he'd say, well, if you're going to have kids, you got to get on it because, tick tock. And I'd say, oh, there's going to be time. And I realized, oh my God, I didn't make the time. I didn't do it. And I kept saying, well, I don't have a husband yet. And he said, well, so what? I said, well, I got to have 2 parents for my child. He said, how many of us have 2 parents and we're still screwed up, right? So he said, you don't have to have 2 parents to raise a child. You can do this. And I just didn't do it. And then all of a sudden I was, 50. I had started dating my husband, and I realized that I wasn't able to juggle having a real relationship, being in the legislature, trying to get back to my law firm and doing my law firm job. And I said, you know what? It's time. It's time for me to put myself first on this, and I'm going to go ahead and retire. And so I retired from the legislature, went back to work. And then knowing when to leave there to go into higher ed was another time that, I did it because I actually thought that I would have a better schedule with higher ed. I remember talking to a professor. I don't know if any of y'all remember Jerry Pollinard. He was a beloved political science professor, been there forever, right? And Jerry's wife used to work with me at the law firm, and we'd see Jerry. Hey, Jerry, how you doing? He's like, oh, life is good as a professor. Went to the movies this afternoon, or joke around, right? He'd say he had 3 classes, and then he goes, I'm done for the day. Well, professors work really hard, but I got the impression from Jerry that higher ed had a little bit more time schedule-wise, flexibility. No, and especially not in administration. And I'm still sitting on 6 boards and
of
doing
course
more
you
than
are.
a full-time job. And so I would say, learning to say no, which is a very hard word to say, right? But learning to say no is not a weakness, especially if you're trying to do too much, if you're trying to be everything to everybody, you just can't do it. You will burn out, and burnout is not a good thing. So learn to say no. Learn to delegate. Maybe somebody can't do it as good as you can, but you don't know. Maybe they can do it better. So you've got to be able to hand things over to others, and because we only get one life to live, and we will, when we're dying on our deathbed, we're not going to say, people aren't going to remember you for your job, right? They're going to remember for who you were as a person and what kind of mother or grandmother or aunt or friend you were. That's what people are going to remember about you. So, yes, you have to balance that work. Do great while you're at work. Give everything you've got. But when you're not there, try to be in the present with your family, with your friends, with others. Enjoy yourselves, because that is how we're going to be more effective and more productive in our work life.
Awesome. Natalia, same for you. You've juggled a really demanding technical career and being a wife and being a mommy. So how do you balance that without maybe feeling guilty or overwhelmed about all of that?
I believe it's something that it's always going to be on your head. Like, are you enough? That you did enough? It's always going to be on your head. But as a professional here, I try to mentor and guide and help and be there, be present. I remember one time my dad was here getting a permit, and he says, "You're too available." Okay, well, it's part of my job, right? I need to be here. But I guess he would see me in the front area or in the lobby, and he would say, like, if it was a negative thing, right, that I was too available. And I took it too hard, and I'm like, am I? I mean, everybody's walking in and seeing me. Is that what it is? But no, I mean, the front line would always tell me that my dad was in the front, and that's why I would go to the front and see him, and just for him to see his face, right? And but those words really went to my heart and say, maybe I want everybody to do good. I wanna, if I could talk to somebody and make a difference in either at work with employees or coworkers or with a contractor, I would feel that I will make a difference if I am. But it does take a toll. I gained 50 pounds in the last few years. I came in and I had all meal prepping and all these alarms for me to take a meal and supplements and stuff like that when I came in. But I started doing sacrifices. I started putting things away, and the pounds started coming in. But I feel comfortable moving out. Like at lunch, it was my break. So I wanted to go to lunch. I wanted a lunch. It was a little break. Things changed. Edinburgh did change me, not only in pounds, but in a lot of aspects. There's a lot of sacrifices when you take roles of leadership. You need to be there for anybody that needs you. It makes a difference. And one of the things that really helped me, it was my husband. As came in and I wanted something bigger, I needed for my husband to be committed also. And he did. And to this date, he has helped me. I have three kids, and they're teenagers. They're like 2 years old, terrible. Terrible twos. So they have all these events that I need to be in. So when the opportunity came to actually accept the position as director, I needed to be in certain meetings and certain things after work, and I needed to be. Code enforcement was very popular, and we were having all these events on the subdivisions, subdivision night or something like that, to be able to meet people. And I will make it a point to be there. So I do remember talking to my husband, and that this commitment needed to be a mutual commitment to be able to fulfill it. And he has always been there. And I appreciate my husband. I appreciate my kids. I appreciate everybody that I have met here, because everybody has given me that opportunity to learn from. I'm always open to learning from anybody. And that also sets us apart, right? So yes, it is challenging. It is very challenging, but it's worth it. Everything is worth it. We make a difference anywhere we go, at work, at home, anywhere.
Okay. I think it's important what you said, too, that it's okay to rely on our partner, our husband, our family, right? Because if not, we spread ourselves so thin. Leah, talking about the juggling, the personal life and the work life, what advice would you give maybe to those young professionals that are following you as an influencer and they see you on the social media about setting boundaries as they start to pursue their career so that they maybe can balance all of that?
That's super important. That's something I'm still learning how to do, how to set boundaries, how to say no, as Veronica mentioned. And it's funny because at the beginning of this year, I said my New Year's resolution is to do less and say no more.
Okay.
It's not really working out for me very well so
but
far.
We're trying.
But I think it's important as a young age to get used to setting boundaries so that as you get older and you're in your 30s and 40s, you're not so uncomfortable saying no. So in my 20s, sort of like them, I had a very hard time saying no. Even in my early 30s, I had a very hard time saying no. I was saying yes to everybody. I was trying to be everything for everybody. And although I'm not a mom, I felt like in my professional career, I was being pulled in so many different ways, and it was hard to say no until I started feeling that burnout, until I started feeling like I really need to focus on my own mental health. I need to find that peace. I need to be able to love myself and take care of my body and my health. And so I give this advice a lot, and it sounds kind of ugly, but I swear it's not. And I tell women to be more selfish, not in an ugly way where you should, only care about yourself. But as Latinas, we are taught time and time again since we were little to always put everybody before us, right? Put your family before yourself,
Absolutely.
Put your job before yourself, put everything before yourself. And it's hard to unlearn that, right? Especially because our culture sort of demands it of us. But I'm a true believer that you cannot appropriately give to others if you yourself are not healthy, if you yourself are not full, right? So I have non-negotiables that I will not give up, right? I work out a minimum of 4 to 5 times a week, and I will plan my day around that, right? I don't care how important that meeting is, I'm going to get my workout in. I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, which I know for the moms out there is not possible.
I love that for you.
I feel bad even saying that, but yes, I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, and I would hope that even as a parent, of course, it's not always possible, that I will continue to prioritize myself, right? And it helps that I have an amazing partner who encourages me to prioritize myself. So for any of the younger, generation in here, or anybody who, follows me on social media, I think it's really important to start setting those boundaries. Get used to saying no. No is a full sentence.
Period.
Period. No, period. Of course, you could say, no, I would love to, but I can't, right? And actually, I'm very proud of myself. This morning, I said no twice.
Oh, imagine that.
to two things that I unfortunately can't make it to, but I started to feel that guilt, like, okay, well, what can I move around to say yes? What can I do? How can I stretch myself so thin to make this happen? And I was like, you know what? Stop stretching yourself thin. You can't make it. And that doesn't make you a bad person. You just can't be there, and you can't be there for everybody at all times. So I'm going to say no, I'm going to accept that, and I'm going to accept that I'm not a bad person for saying no.
Awesome. I have so many more questions. Darn it, our time is drawing to a close, though. And I will say, though, that you say selfish, but I think it's self-care, right? So I appreciate that. I think that we've all learned so much from our panelists today, and the key takeaway is that confidence maybe isn't something that we're all just born with, but we build it through experiences and being resilient and maybe learning how to say no, right? So as we close it up, I do want each of you to share maybe one key piece of advice with all our ladies. Just one little tidbit that you think will really empower our women as we close it out. So Natalia, let's start with you.
I think being patient for what you're hoping for. The right timing. It's important to wait. There's always a perfect timing for everything, and we just need to have that perseverance and that patience to wait for the right thing. I think that's a key. That's key.
Okay, Miss Veronica?
I would say surround yourself with good people and get mentors, and then mentor other people. Don't just take, but give back, right? And so I think women, a lot of times we get so caught up in our own family lives, and we just rely on our husband and our kids and all that, and we lose track of our girlfriends. We don't make time for them, but you've got to have that. You've got to have sometimes just the women in your life with you. And when you do, you can share ideas, you can commiserate about menopause and about all the things that are going on in our lives, right? And really, you help to mentor each other, you bounce ideas off, you grow, they give you that lift that you need. And then you pass that torch on to the younger generation, because even though times have changed and women are a lot more secure and today than we might have been in our generation, they still need that mentorship as well. And so they need to know stories and help each other. So just help each other and then help others.
Great. Leah?
My last piece of advice is something that I mentioned earlier, and it's be authentically you. Don't hide the parts of yourself that you think are going to alienate people or turn them away, because often that piece of yourself is who's going to invite that tribe, the women who are going to uplift you and support you, and the right partner, the right friends. I struggled a lot with that in the beginning, being authentically me, because I felt like I was going to lose clients because of it. And, it took me a few years to finally be like, I'm not going to be the lawyer that society wants me to look like. Or, I think y'all have noticed my billboards. They're pink, and they say funny things on them.
And that's okay.
and that's okay, and it's not for everybody. I'm not for everybody, and I'm 100% okay with that. And then right as I got comfortable being me and really stepping into myself, there's always a lesson, right? All of a sudden, my husband runs for mayor, and I'm questioning everything. I'm like, can I still be myself, or are people going to be like, well, that's not how a mayor's wife should dress or act, or whatever the case may be. And so that was like, I felt like another important lesson that I was learning. And thankfully, my husband was like, don't change a thing. You are perfect the way you are. But it brought in that self-doubt of like, great, now I'm going to be perceived, in another way. And it really, it kind of rattled me at first. But I have found that every time I try to be somebody that I'm not, it always blows up in my face, right? Every time I try to be the lawyer that people want me to be, I end up not enjoying it, right? So I think be authentically you. The parts of you that you shy away from or you don't want other people to know is exactly what is going to invite your tribe.
Great. Oh, we had some great information today. Thank our panelists, please. I think they deserve a big round of applause. And thanks to all of you for being part of this conversation, making time to be with us today. I hope that you were inspired by the stories that were shared and all the things that we learned today. It's a good reminder that we get to lead with purpose as women every single day. So let's continue to support each other, uplift each other, empower one another, and not just in the workplace, but beyond that, in all the spaces that we enter. That's what we talked about, right? And just thank you all so much for being here today. I hope that we make this an annual event. We might have to bring y'all back, right? Because we had so much more to talk about. Okay, thank you all, and have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed it.